everybody. This is Damon Sugamelli from the year 2023. I'm back with my wife, Amada Anderson.
I
She's
survived.
back for the finale, and joining us is Mike Bloxam, Brian Greene from the Alice Place fan site, MJ Cogburn of the virtual seasons, and joining us from the Fates Wide Wheel podcast is one of the co-hosts, Dennis Frymire.
Hey,
welcome.
how's it going?
Welcome.
Yeah, we've been trying to coordinate stuff for a while, and so at least we're able to do this. I want to do something big for the season finale of Quantum Leap, Judgment Day. We're finally here, and I think we all have a lot of different things to say about this. Some good, some bad. I don't know. We're just going to see how it goes. Written by Margarita Matthews and directed by Chris Grismer, who was the writing team of the O Ye of Little Faith, right? That was the Halloween episode. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, sorry. So, Ben's final leap of the season takes him closer to home than he ever expected. The team faces the ultimate showdown with Leaper X as they battle for the future of the Quantum Leap project and their lives. Ooh. The leap dates? Oh, boy. 2051, 2018, we're all over the place here.
2023, 1879, 1954, and
1989. Yeah, we're
71.
We're
it
all
was
over.
in 71.
1971? I'm not.
the
Where,
boxer
I don't even
episode.
quite sure which one that was, but anyway.
That was just a flashback.
Flashback.
And Ben is, well, he's different people too. He's in the future. We don't know who he is in the future because that was all of about 5 minutes of the episode. But he's mainly
But Ian's all alone.
Yeah.
right. Ian is alone, but he is mainly, when he goes back to 2018, he is himself.
Yeah, that was
In
cool.
2018. All right, so I don't know, Mike. You always have a lot of really good things to say, so I think you should go first.
Positive notes. Are nice.
Yeah. I think I called it that he was going to leap into himself, and I was pleasantly surprised. I guess I'm struggling a bit because the episode was a bit insane.
Oh, it was.
Which I guess was a guilty pleasure. I enjoyed that aspect of it. It kind of reminded me of some of the plot lines we saw in the virtual seasons.
They were all Damon stories, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I kind of enjoyed that aspect of me. I was able to geek out a bit on the time travel stuff. But yeah, it was a bit all over the place, and I did have to watch it a second time to kind of piece together the different processes of how the timelines were impacting each other and quantum bubbles. And yeah, it was to the average viewer, this might have been pretty confusing, but to a hardcore Quantum Leap fan, it was a lot of fan service, I think.
Yeah, I would think so. Okay, how about you, Brian?
Yeah, I loved it. I love the time travel part of it, and it was definitely created for time travel fans. A lot of fans.
Yeah.
You know, the timelines. If you don't think about it too hard, it was fun. If you start really thinking about it, you know, there's some things that are off, or you kind of wonder how
Entangled.
they're put together. But no, I liked it. I liked the story. It kind of summed up everything that had happened through the whole season so far, which I did like. You know, usually don't get that. Usually there's a cliffhanger where something wasn't resolved, or you know, but they did it. So I loved it. What you looking at, MJ?
Okay.
Here she goes.
All right, Dennis. I know you guys have pretty much talked about it on your own podcast.
Sure.
Some initial thoughts.
Some thoughts, yeah. I really had a fun time watching this episode Monday night live, doing our watch parties that we do, and live tweeting with everyone and seeing everybody's live reactions to it. That aspect was really a lot of fun. I think people who are coming back and watching the show later and they are binging the show, I think it's a blast and it's a joy as long as you don't think about it too hard. For diehard fans like us, we're talking about, like the fan service. Actually, like for me, I'm like one of those people, like episodes like this kind of frustrate me because like once the episode is over and the razzle dazzle wears off and you really start thinking about it, I almost feel manipulated by things like the fan service. And I'm like, okay, all right, I get it. Like when I was watching this episode for the first time, like the third time they mentioned Al, I think I shouted at my laptop. It's like, I get it. Al's alive in 2018. I get it. Move on. So that being said,
that was a theme ploy.
Yes.
Point in the theme.
Yes.
That they wanted to hammer in.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And so it's things like that. Like I said, like for me as a diehard fan, kind of frustrate me a little bit. I don't know if the episode has a whole lot of rewatchability for me, and by extension, a lot of the HQ stories in the first season are going to have a lot of rewatchability for me. But if that's not a huge concern for you, and like I said, you're just going through like watching the series for the first time, or just you're planning on watching it one time, I think for the average viewer, this episode is really a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's MJ's turn.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't think MJ liked it very much.
Oh, so we're sticking to the positives?
If we're sticking to here. There were a few positives that I saw in it, but the negatives seemed to overweigh those,
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it was difficult for me to watch it, for one, because of the leaping into himself. That just... It didn't blow the mind. It was just, okay, yeah, don't mess with it. Yeah, we're doing Back to the Future. Yep. Oh, there's Groundhog Day mentioned. Oh, there's Terminator. Yeah, that's another one.
Yes.
How much do you want to live?
Come with me if you want to live.
Yep.
Even the name of the episode.
And it was like, Judgment Day.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's like, this is what they did. They followed those storylines, kind of, sort of, with a Quantum Leap run to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Amada?
Well, we watched it twice. We have to watch everything at least twice because we have a toddler. So, I think when I watched it the first time, I was like, "What? What? What?" And I pretty much woke up my mom because she remembers me screaming at the TV, going, "Huh?" And then when we watched it with my mom the next night, I was trying to explain it to her, and I was like, "Well, this happened, and then this happened, and this happened." And it was very exciting. It was like a roller coaster because we didn't know what was going to happen. It's the season finale, so there's going to be a huge drama aspect, and it's supposed to resolve all of those things that we've been waiting for. So seeing Ian and then the fallout and like the code and the little cute things, I really liked that they kept that family aspect. Just
the team.
It's all about the family. It's all about the team. And like we learned about him going through his breakup with, what's her name? Megan or whatever. Rachel.
Yeah,
Rachel.
That's right. Yeah,
and like, like that had, and apparently the trivia thing was like so important, and or Christina, whatever it was.
Quiztima Aguilera.
Yeah, like, for trivia geeky people, it was like, he was like, "You guys are so important. You're so important. We need you." And it was true. It was, I love like all these layers of finally finding out like why Ian is the way he is, or she, or they. And, and like just seeing like why he's around this project and like everybody and why they're in this project, and like it feels like family, and and then the aspect of one of us is going to die or all of us are going to die unless we finish this. And it was just, I really liked it. I thought it was really cool. It was a unique perspective on the quantum leap that we know, but that same cohesiveness that we always felt with Scott and Dean and, in the show, it felt like they're really, really trying to thread this as like a family aspect because they were so close and everybody was so close. And if I had to say that those were my favorite parts of it was seeing how close everybody was, even when he didn't know, like the goldfish's name. Ben didn't know the goldfish's name. He didn't know those three parts.
Scout.
Yeah, it was still really cool. Like they still figured it out, and they still were able to work around everything together as a team. And I thought, okay, now we've brought out of that CSI NCIS thing that they showed us in the beginning, and now they're really explaining why it's such a team effort. And I thought, okay, I think I'm even more invested in this show because of that. Yeah, the heart of it. I like that.
Yeah, I will say that I thought the leaping effects were just great in this episode. I thought just the special effects they pulled out all the stops on it. At least I thought. I did like just everything with the characters. Like the whole Christina Aguilera thing, and then Jen with what she was like all goth or whatever at that point, and in 2018, what was she? She was like, the grunge.
I think they were just dressed up to go out. As a character. Yeah. Yeah,
and I like the callbacks to all of the previous, like a lot of prior episodes. I did like that we saw the whole boxing thing come back into play, because we mentioned that we thought that was the first real, like, it really felt like Quantum Leap. That was like the first time it really felt like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the plot of this really was all over the place, and I like what they were trying to do. But when you think about it too much, even in I understand a lot of time travel stuff, and this gave me a headache too, like trying to make sense of the timelines. But,
we got into a conversation about that.
Yeah. I don't even know where to start with this.
I think they were pulling all those references to keep people who have seen those movies in reference to that this is a time travel show.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what happened, and it's similar, and that's it. Like you said, Dennis, it felt like they were kind of like dumbing it down a little bit, but I think they do that on purpose, because if you really think about time travel, I mean, it's really complicated.
It does make your head hurt.
we were arguing about the timelines. I was like, well, wait a minute. If that guy died,
Wait, which
Martinez?
Martinez. We got this whole thing, and I was like, but he's dead.
Okay, yeah. So here's the thing. So what is it at the end? They said he's lost to time.
Yes,
because he died in the past.
That's what they said.
I found that confusing because they were very specific and said that if Ben died, the cheat wouldn't work. Like, he would still be dead. And so I think that's what they were trying to like prove, like making Martinez dead, but then Addison's line saying lost the time. I think, that was a little confusing.
Yeah, because so he's dead in the past.
Here we go.
But in 2023, there's still a younger version of Martinez who hasn't leaped yet. So what's to stop all of this from just starting all over again and having it happen a different way in this new timeline?
My friends, I too can play the time game. If you do that, once I've vanquished you, I will go back and set up the scheme. And another gun.
I
the
don't
government?
see how that cancels.
What'd you say, MJ?
The government? they don't.
Yeah, like
They don't trust everybody in this episode anyway, so because it's
Yeah.
all of society's fault that the nuclear thing came. So I thought that was a very interesting way of pointing to the government at this point in time.
Well, I kind of don't have an issue with that they don't understand the implications of what they're trying to do, because the government just doesn't seem like it really knows what it's doing anyway. A lot of times, I mean, but because it's just this whole thing of like, don't they realize that by what they're going to do and sending Martinez back and essentially eliminating time travel, you're going to wipe yourselves out. Like you can't use time travel to eliminate time travel.
But it's the government. So.
And they don't understand. That I get, but like still like
I wish
this
somebody
is
would have
where
said that
my
line of
head's
dialogue
going
in the
with.
episode.
Yes.
And I want it to be magic.
The implications of the
Yeah.
Yeah, magic, of course.
The implications of this whole time paradox is just. I feel like I'm sort of skipping over my notes. I'm just skipping
I'm sorry.
over.
I didn't mean
No.
to
But it's just like I feel like the writers just were throwing a lot of crap on the wall and seeing what stuck.
That's what I do.
The nanowave nullifier time suppressor. Yeah. Okay.
I get the quantum bubble thing because I mean there's sort of precedent for that, and I mean that's how it was in the original series too. I think as long as Sam was on a leap, nobody was really being affected. So I get that, but where does that quantum bubble reach? Because it's like, is this within like the project? Like I would think if you go outside that project, that bubble doesn't exist anymore. And if that bubble, if the project was destroyed in 2041, because Ian said 10 years, right?
Well, he said he'd been working on it for 10 years. We don't necessarily know the project had been destroyed for 10 years.
Well, he was leaping.
Well, I thought Ian said that they leaped back to try to they leaped back to 2022 to warn Ben that Addison was going to die, I guess, in the past.
Yes.
I guess.
2018.
So
And then when
would...
Ian returns, the accelerator had already been destroyed.
Right.
Right?
No, he returned, and then they sent Martinez, and then they destroyed it.
No, I
They
think
sent him, and then they destroyed it.
I think it was. I may be wrong. I think it was they sent Martinez. Ian leaped, and then after Ian leaped back, then they destroyed the accelerator.
Oh, okay.
I could be wrong about that, but that's how I remember it.
That sounds right.
Because all of that order is really important.
So,
in theory.
But again, that begs this question then: if that project was destroyed and we're living in a nuclear wasteland, that bubble is gone, right? If there's no project, there's no bubble to protect Ian from any changes in the past. So I'm trying to figure out the logistics behind all of this. Is how long did it take Martinez to reach his destination to kill Addison? Shouldn't that have already happened?
It's time travel. They have all the time in the world.
But you kind of don't. Where does the point of no return come when, because we're dealing with 3 different time periods here, right?
Yes.
2018.
Yes, because Ian did that whole thing where he was meditating, talking to herself.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know who to go to next. Dennis, I know you were kind of working out a timeline of events, but I think the notes I sent were kind of similar to that.
We're similar.
Trying to go through each timeline.
And I think the point that I was trying to make when I made out that timeline wasn't necessarily that like everything that we've been talking about now. It was like trying to figure out what Janice said at specific points throughout the season and how they lined up with what she knew what she knew about Martinez, what she knew about the future, and how the project was behaving. Because thinking about the episode afterward, I found it really weird that if they find out Ziggy is the mole and they shut Ziggy down to nullify Ziggy, like you touched on, Damon, they know Martinez exists in this current time. Why do they not do anything to neutralize present day Martinez? Because it seems like after What a Disaster and after they go talk to him, they don't do anything to keep tabs on him.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
That's a good point.
It's true.
So really, like my
They
time,
have the film footage right there. Like,
Sure.
look, government, this guy did this.
yeah. So the timeline I put together was just like trying to make like sense of like, you know, really how it all made sense, and the ultimate answer is like none of it really. It really does. You can't.
Yeah,
I
because
mean,
even
like
Janice
you can only headcanon your way so far.
Yes. Again, the problem is that they're not explaining a lot of things. It's like for people like us who geek out over this, it's like I don't want to talk too much about. I don't want to toot my own horn with the virtual seasons too much because this is not a virtual seasons podcast or video. But like a lot of the stories that I wrote we all wrote stories that were very similar to this.
Yeah.
Well, they
Here,
probably
MJ.
read some of it.
Yeah, MJ, here.
I mean, we have over, I don't know how many, 155
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot.
stories over there, and not all of them are just hardcore in your face, leap after leap after leap like this one was, but there is a lot of description on how things worked, and things worked this way because this is how we thought it was, according to what Don wrote.
Right.
Canon. Sorry. Which I was hardcore on. I would keep everything straight so that the timeline went in a good way, so to speak. I know it doesn't matter when things happen because of time.
Well, like this whole thing,
It
like
just
like
kinda-
the story that
It niggled at me the whole time. I was seeing the themes of different shows, and I was like, okay. Okay.
Yeah, and you felt like Austin Powers. We were just like in the second movie, like my brain is like trying to figure out everything. Is like my
And now I've gone cross-eyed.
Wait a tick. Basil, if I travel back to 1969 and I was frozen in 1967, presumably I could go visit my frozen self. But if I'm still frozen in 1967, how could I have been unthawed in the 90s and traveled back to, oh no, I've gone cross-eyed?
Then after you figure it out and you write it like a little timeline of this is how this happened and this is why this happened, and you go through it, then you're like, oh, yeah, no.
Yeah, we need Doc Brown's chalkboard right now. Is just trying to figure out, okay, when we were here, this happened, but then it created this timeline. It's
Right, so we go back to the future, and we stop Biff from stealing the time machine.
We can't, because if we travel into the future, from this point in time, it will be the future of this reality, in which Biff is corrupt and powerful and married to your mother.
it's just
Until he leaps out of
it was a little hard to
2018, we won't know what happens.
yeah. As I was saying, MJ, like the story that you and me co-wrote, where I basically did that whole chapter of exposition, explaining every single timeline,
Everything. And how it all worked. And it made
And it's
sense at the time because we were like, okay,
I think
this because this and this because this. And the butterfly effect in wherever it is. Yeah.
Right. So I think that's the problem, is that this is a 42-minute show, this really should have been like, again, they threw everything at us all at once. We've said this over the past couple of weeks, that I just feel like they threw it all right at the end. Like, they didn't sprinkle it evenly throughout the season.
Yeah.
If they had done that, maybe this wouldn't have felt like it was all rushed and thrown together. And we needed at least 2 parts for this, I think, for this story.
I wonder if it was part of not knowing whether they were going to be renewed or not. And when they got the renewal, that's when they said, well, let's wrap this up, and maybe they'll do better in season 2.
Everything against the wall.
Kind of, yeah.
And I almost...
I said it.
No, I was going to say, I almost wonder if it was a network note to say to spend as little time on this as possible and wrap it all up in one episode. Because I can't imagine that anybody creatively involved really wanted to cram all this into one episode if they had their wishes.
Yeah.
That's probably
I know you guys have mentioned too about that. I don't know where Stephen Lillian and Brian Windbrandt came into all of this with, and they originally developed this, but they haven't really been able to say much about, because everything got taken over like relatively early on by Dean Georgaris and Martin Garrow. So, right, and Martin Garrow supposedly added Martinez.
As far as we understand, it sounds like Martin Garrow and Dean Georgaris stepped back in and took over somewhere in the process of filming Somebody Up There Likes Ben. And because I know, like, Dean said he did like some rewrites or some dialogue tweaking in there, but I think the fact that Janice and Beth were so heavily featured in that episode, I think that had Stephen and Brian's fingerprints all over it, and it's probably why that storyline started to fall more into the background after that.
Yeah, because I feel like as Janice even really been like this, like nothing really happened with her afterwards. I feel like there was supposed to be more to this character, and just like nothing much came out of it.
Janice and Ben?
Janice in general. Like,
that's what I said. She seemed like she was like, well, this is what was supposed to happen. But then she wasn't really helping.
Yeah, she started out seeming like she was more important to the show, and then just kind of fell off at some point.
Because everything was happening the way that she said it was going to happen. But she couldn't share everything because it was literally happening, and then stuff happened without her understanding why it was happening, and she was confused too. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe she'll be on the project next season.
Well, that's what I thought. I thought we were going to deal with the whole timeline reset thing, which I guess is a good thing we didn't, but I don't know. I just don't. I'm just trying to think of, like, do we even get into the whole timeline thing? Because I think it's just going to hurt our heads now. I don't know.
I'd rather not.
I think I just wanted to see if MJ's head would just go.
It'd be really cool if her headphones went.
right.
I'm just trying to make sense of it all, because didn't they say in the beginning that it was years away from human testing?
Yes.
Yet now Addison leaped in 2022. Like, why? Why would she have leaped in 2022?
I really think practically it was the writers not wanting the audience to get confused. They didn't want to say that Addison leaped in 2027. You know what I mean? They just wanted to dumb it down and keep it as simple as possible.
I guess. What were you saying, MJ?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
You've been quiet, Brian.
Yeah, Brian.
I'm just taking it all in. I like all the opinions.
But the thing,
I'll mention it at the end too. But Brian also. I'll just say Brian also did the after show with and Hayden McQueenie
Hayden,
for the Quantum Leap podcast. So you kind of expressed your own thoughts a little bit too. I'm going to link to that anyway, but you did that, so you probably don't want to repeat yourself too much. What were you saying, Dennis? Sorry.
No, I was saying with Addison leaping in 2022, I really think like it was just the writers keeping it as simple as possible. But I really like the idea if Addison, for whatever reason, if she leaped prematurely too and she got lost in time, I really like this idea of somehow later in a future season, Leaper Addison pops up from having, like that timeline may have been erased, but she may have been thrown out somewhere in a timey-wimey way.
People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect, but actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
And she's wandering around. I'm kind of thinking like what they did in the CW's The Flash with the Reverse Flash and Eobard Thawne. Like, even though he was erased from existence, he still managed to bounce around through time. It would be cool if they did something with Leaper Addison, but that's probably going to be like season 3 or 4 when they start running out of ideas.
It's a pretty cool idea.
If they make it to a season 3.
In the trailer for next season, Addison does look like she's in like a Fermi suit, like you would see, in the old.
Oh.
So
yeah, they
that
showed
gonna
a
be?
couple of scenes
from
season 2. Yeah,
They did.
so that's interesting. Yeah, getting back to the Addison thing, if there was a timeline that existed where she was the Leaper, doesn't that mean that Leaper Addison may be out there somewhere? Or is it just that all of her leaps got erased when Ben started leaping? It's the multiverse. Like what?
Yeah, it's like the world without Sam Beckett, right? Where Sam's leaps never happened.
Stuff that I came up with and had to kind of rewrite reality. But so does this mean that there's a version of Addison that's out there before everything got changed, or what? It's going to be way too confusing.
Or like I told Damon, I said it when we watched that final episode and the last episode in Quantum
Mirror
Leap.
Image,
and I said, did he die? And then he's like, no, he didn't die. And I'm like, but if he changed Al's life, then Al's not Al who helped him in all of his leaps.
No, he still did, but there was a different version of him that
wouldn't have helped him that well. We went down that rabbit hole. I'm sure you guys went down that rabbit hole. But it was a long night with whiskey involved. He was all like, no, everything's fine. I'm like, I don't think so.
I will ask, Amada, have you ever read Mirror's Edge, the last of the Quantum Leap tie-in novels?
No, we haven't read any of the novels. I have them all, but she hasn't read them.
Oh, okay. I don't want to spoil it, but
I need to start.
Yeah, go. I mean, you don't necessarily need to read them all in order, but go read Mirror's Edge.
Yeah, it was. Mirror's Edge was interesting. Yeah, it definitely was. I will also say that I completely called it that Martinez leaped into magic. Because because Addison was talking on the phone, and you did not hear or see magic. I'm like, we're going to find out that magic was leaped into by Martinez. But now what? He wasn't though anymore, right? Because we hit the reset button.
Yeah,
the video game reset, Dark Souls, whatever.
The cheat code.
Here we go again.
Oh my, yeah.
I do like the idea of magic having been leapt into a second time.
Right.
Yeah,
and
I like that too.
Yeah, Magic saw that. It was like, oh no.
Yes.
Yeah, he's watching it play out in front of him. Like, that was pretty. That's what I'm saying. That's what I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah. But just the whole. I mean, I was kind of following along until we got to that point where. And then they go into the accelerator together, and it's just like now all of a sudden we are jumping into all of the previous times that they encountered each other. Why did
they had to go backward in time? They went backward in time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Along their own paths, I guess.
Along their own quantum entanglement.
On their first meeting points, all the way down to the first one. The first time they met was when they were cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I got that, but did it seem what was the reason for that happening?
It was their quantum entanglement.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Can I throw out my head cannon?
Leading up to the line where they said the one thing keeping everybody together is that quantum entanglement that Ben keeps saying.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it.
And we are one.
Okay. All right. What does everybody think about that? It was cool, but I don't know if that makes any sense. With you said it, Dennis, the three-ins?
Yes.
Brought up the podcast, the three-ins.
The three-ins. I think the joke that I sent you a messenger today, like you realize, like if Ian can project through time, like Ian could have just done a quantum entanglement and not time travel, just told Ben about what was going on, like back in 2018, and just prevent it then. And this whole thing has a leap, could have been a quantum entanglement vibe, like this meeting could have been an email kind of thing. It didn't need to get this complicated.
Here's the code. Good job.
A post-it note on a wall, baby.
Yeah, just.
You loved this. I mean, I liked it too. You loved the scene though. You loved that. You were crying at that.
I did. I'm very spiritual. I'll be honest. I'm very spiritual. I took Ciro. We've never prayed with him before, and I prayed with him tonight. And I just said, let's say thank you to the stars and all this stuff. And he's like trying to say thank you. He's never said thank you before. He's working on it, but it was just like I felt like that's really cool because I really do think that you can project your thoughts and they can manifest and like. I've always been that way. And so when I saw Ian sitting there and trying to connect with himself, I was like, he's deep. Like, we thought he was one thing and then you find like how devoted he is or she, they. And it just thought he's like, that's like so cool that you can be so deep and so smart and so loyal. God, he waited all that time.
And somehow they're able to synchronize
he was
three different time periods
at
psychically
the same time.
Because he was thinking it in his head.
Maybe he burst the quantum bubble and remembered from one time period to the next what to do.
Maybe.
He's the groundhog in the whole scenario.
A different groundhog every year, I'm pretty sure. I think that's pretty. I just think that's really cool because I really told. I mean, I sat there with Ciro tonight and I said, our ancestors are watching us, and maybe there are different versions of ourselves that are out there, and the whole doppelganger thing. I mean, who knows? And so you sit there and you think about it, and you're like, okay, it was a nice thought that he sat there and thought nice thoughts to try really hard to figure out what he could do to help. And I mean, it was almost like a prayer moment. And I thought, okay, all right. Yeah. That's the spiritual part of, I think, I mean, honestly, when I watch Quantum Leap and I try to tell people who've never seen it, I'm like, it's touched by an angel with a sci-fi throw.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it was. Trying to change people's lives for the better.
Right.
Don Quixote.
I didn't mention it before when we were talking about that whole battle across time. That seemed like also it should have been more of like a series finale moment, like something that you do at the end of a show to backtrack through the entire series. It felt that would have been this kind of felt like a final episode to me. Which I mean, we're only in season 1. That was.
But was it renewed? Did it already come
Yeah,
out that it was renewed
So,
for the next season?
Yeah, they're already
Yeah, they
filming
were already on episode 4.
They just
Really?
finished episode
Yeah,
4, I
what we're
think.
trying to do is like show you like this is what you've been watching and remember this, and
Yeah.
there's more.
And I think Garrow's already come out and said, as far as like the spectacle and special effects, the first episode of next season is going to be even bigger than this one. So I'm wondering if it's really just like, as far as special effects go, they're just pulling out all the stops that they can, even if it doesn't quite make sense.
Well, that was one of my complaints at the beginning of the season. Addison never walked through anything hardly. You never saw much of a hologram effect, and that was one of the staples of the original series that I really liked. So there were a lot of complaints about that. So I think they're maybe overcompensating a little bit, but I like the effects in this last one, and they were very good.
Yeah. As I said, I think the special effects in this were great. That it was just. I did like the because you mentioned it last week, MJ, too, how you don't know how you felt about him leaping into the future, and we see that it was trying to pull him back because he didn't belong there. So I kind of like that actually, that it that the accelerator or whatever recognized that he was not supposed to be there and was desperately trying to pull him back.
Yeah, that was interesting.
So I was like, okay, I get that. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I
still don't like it.
I did find it strange how they were kind of personifying the accelerator, though.
Yes.
When Martinez and Ben were kind of arguing, he said, "Oh, it's on my side. It likes me better." It was like, well, wait a minute. This is a piece of technology. It's not an entity. It's not a
quantum accelerator.
Not
Isn't
Ziggy.
Ziggy?
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
Amada. It's not Ziggy, so it is just the piece of machinery that gets you from point A to point B.
Yeah.
Per se.
Yeah.
Right.
But it has a thought process, and it made the government screw everything up. So,
the wording of all that was a little weird for me too.
Someone on Facebook, one of the Facebook groups, they put out the observation that it sounds like they were trying to replace the idea of God, time, fate, or whatever with the accelerator. And I don't know if it, and it's like this huge juxtaposition, like, because like 80s, 90s television, like Touched by an Angel, Highway to Heaven, like there was a huge God theme in a lot of the TV shows that you don't see much anymore. And I think maybe that's just their kind of way, because I can go on, but I'd be pedantic. But yeah, I think that's what they're doing. Yeah. They're just replacing God with the accelerator.
Right.
I didn't Deborah. I don't know if it was when you guys were interviewing her, or it was Quantum Leap Podcast that interviewed her, but she kind of implied that perhaps Ziggy was the one that's been in control all along. That Ziggy was like that God, time, fate, whatever.
Yeah.
Like even in the original series, she implied that maybe that's the case.
Right.
Which I found interesting because that's coming from Deborah herself. So I don't know how I feel about that, but I don't know.
Maybe it started with Ziggy and then God said, wait a minute. We don't know.
Yeah.
God, time, fate, whatever.
Yeah.
That's how they lumped
Easter money. Santa Claus.
Canon.
The bartender.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Ziggy falls under the whatever category.
Yeah.
It's true.
It is.
Well, MJ, you mentioned canon. It seems like they threw their own canon out the window with this because we hit the reset button and Ben is. So I in Leap, Die, Repeat, I was under the impression that Ben could not leap into somebody twice and do it over again because they made this big deal about, well, when you run out of hosts,
right,
you're dead.
Yeah.
But this time he actually did hit the reset button and leaped back into himself and hit the reset button as if
that's just because he was in a time loop. Come on.
Yeah.
Ian had
broke their own rules.
I feel like
did he? The first time.
I feel like the cheat code that Ian wrote to give to Ben was kind of building off of what they learned in Leap, Die, Repeat. So maybe it's just the fact that they had over 20 years to perfect the code. or almost 30 years to protect the code.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the first time he leaped into himself was after the future. He goes back to 2018, and then we do the whole battle across time with the other 3 leaps, and then you hit the reset button and the cheat code, and then he goes back to the beginning of the leap as if none of that ever happened.
See, hit the reset button.
Right.
Because they used the cheat code.
Explained it. Everybody used cheat codes. Come on. I was playing Sims like for 2 weeks. I didn't even go to school. And then I found the cheat codes. I spent $65 in a download for all the packages and zip code. Man, and I sent her to like go to work doing the dishes forever, and she was fine. It wasn't any fun anymore.
Yeah. I think I've been kind of exhausted where I was going with my notes.
Yeah,
I'm not going to go into big detail with stuff, but I don't know. Anything else anybody wants to add?
I will throw this out there. I decided this was my headcanon yesterday while I was listening to QLP and something that Matt said. It wasn't directly, but it just kind of triggered like a stream of thought in my head. For me, the leap across time was not reality. It was some kind of quantum realm that the Accelerator and Martinez and Ben all created together, and it's the same place where Al's place and Cokesburg, Pennsylvania was in mirror image. And for me, that explains why they're physically in those locations. They're not in any actual scenes from those leaps. And so Frankie showing up at the end was either a manifestation of Ben's subconscious rescuing himself or another leaper.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah. That's the only way I can make that sequence work for me.
Oh, yeah. There was the mention of Al's place, which I thought of you, Brian. And I thought of mirror image. I'm like, was that intentional?
Of course.
Yes. Of course it was.
They mentioned Al several times, as much as they could, including the Cuban
Cuban cigars.
And yeah, they mentioned him as much as they positively could. Which was nice.
Yeah, I'm just still getting hung up on the fact that you reset the sleep. So Martinez still doesn't show up in that leap if you reset it. Like, I'm just thinking of like if we're using a video game as a comparison, you're restarting the level. So whereas Martinez is dead, but if you reset it, should he still show up?
Then he's gonna show up again because he's alive.
No, that's part of the cheat code. He's still dead.
Yeah.
He's walking around in a circle somewhere.
It doesn't make sense.
Like what I used to do with my Sims. He's washing dishes over and over again.
They kind of talked about quantum entanglement in a totally different show, but it doesn't mix.
That's not how it works.
Well, that's what I heard.
Wait, but who? Who told you that?
Star Trek, Terminator, Time Cop, Time After Time. Quantum Leap? Wrinkle in Time, Somewhere in Time.
Hot Tub Time Machine.
Hot Tub Time Machine. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Basically any movie that deals with time travel.
Die Hard? No, that's not one.
This is known. I don't know why everyone believes that, but that isn't true. Think about it. If you travel to the past, that past becomes your future. And your former present becomes the past, which can't now be changed by your new future.
Exactly.
You just will have to wait and find out.
I was going to say, I think, like, for me with Martinez, like, Martinez was, I mean, like Garrow has said, like, they threw him in episode 5 because Garrow found it very important to throw in another leaper to hook the audience in, to generate as much buzz as possible, just to get, like, the second half of the season ordered, because at that point, it hadn't been ordered yet. And Garrow has definitively said in more than one interview, Martinez is definitely dead. I think Martinez was just a hookup that Garrow used and just wants to make sure that they are embarrassed by that storyline now and just want to put it to bed.
I mean, also, he told Martinez, this is a suicide mission. You know, this was a suicide mission. And he's like, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it was. did Martinez come up with the idea to destroy the accelerator, or did the government tell him?
That's what he said.
He told him that
He
they were going to do
says
that.
that where did I write it? I know I wrote it down. I can't find it. But they sent you on a suicide mission, and they were wrong. My mission was to neutralize the threat of time travel because time travel poses a threat to humanity. According to Ziggy, all of you have to die.
Yeah.
And I knew that they were going to destroy it. I gave them the idea.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So I have
But to
no
destroy
delusions about getting home. He knew he
Right.
wasn't getting home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. But was it his idea to destroy it in the past, in 2018?
I think
Or
that
did
was
the
the
government
government.
That's what he was trying to do, right?
Mm-hmm. Because again, we're coming back full circle. If you do that, you're wiping yourself out of existence.
Yeah.
He knew that.
But
he's a soldier. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
So
So
with that in mind, either
He's
he's
saying
walking
he's
around in
expendable.
circles, or we'll see him later.
So what was the point of Martinez leaping to fix things if he's just going to undo everything he's ever done?
Well, bad person.
Sometimes
I know I
that's
wrote
the way it is.
something- I
It's
know
the
I
best
wrote something similar
explanation.
to this, but I had a reason for it.
It was to stop it from the beginning.
It just feels like they didn't think this through.
Oh.
That's all I'm saying.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I drank the Kool-Aid. I like
They really didn't think it through. And they
Should've gotten
want
us to
everybody
write.
to
Yeah.
right.
That's right.
Well, you know,
Or at least proofread.
to write it. We'll help you out.
Tag their Facebook pages and be like, "Do you need help?" Because we have like a whole collection
stories.
of online
I
stories.
feel like
over
you've
here.
already stolen half my ideas already.
So Damon and MJ, I want to ask you both. Like Janice was directly lifted from like the online Quantum Leap community, like very directly. So I'm curious, like, do you genuinely think that maybe some writers were combing through online and like picked up some of your stories? Because I don't know. I'm thinking maybe.
Well, you guys didn't name her Janice, but it was somewhere online.
Yeah.
Janice.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know where it was, but
Yeah, no one can figure it out. Yeah.
Janice.
yeah, I don't know where. Now
You're gonna have to go back and read everything over again.
Mhm.
I guess that's my job.
Yeah, I know all 4 of the daughters had their names identified in the virtual seasons. I just can't remember what they were.
Who does
Yeah.
who
Well,
does Al say in the show? Get in the closet, Janice.
Wasn't it Denise?
Tina. Oh, no,
Oh,
Denise.
Denise.
Yeah,
No.
Denise.
Denise.
Get in the closet.
No, that's in the closet.
Yeah.
There was
Yeah.
a different one.
Well, that
thought there
wasn't
was a
supposed to be a
different one.
daughter. That was one
a-
of his.
Yeah, that was one of his hookups.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but I know
don't
in the
remember
virtual
the name
seasons.
though.
Yeah, no, in the virtual seasons, I know Janice wasn't a name. It was just that name was that they took it from somewhere online somewhere. We just don't know where. It was like a Wikipedia entry or something.
It's a weird thing.
They
Like
might have
if you
done
just
that.
like you Google Al Calavici, like the little Google thing that pops up, like gives you all of his character's details, and they'll say daughters, and they name all 4 of the daughters, and the last one is Janice. So I don't know where that's pulled from, but I was genuinely curious, like if you thought maybe like if they found Janice's name online, if they maybe had found some of your stories online and were pilfering through them.
I'm so proud.
Well, I don't think that they're really supposed to do that because
because you're not copywritten, so
well,
everything is
we're not
available.
Official. We weren't official,
online.
so they can't look at stuff because somebody like us could say, "Oh, you stole our idea. We could sue you."
No, because you're not copywritten.
Well, anyway, before we move on, let's just talk about the ending to this because I felt very anticlimactic. Where what were we seeing at the end? Like we don't even. I mean, we know Ben didn't go home, but like I just feel like it just ended like that. We didn't even get anything. Like it felt like the last page of a book was missing. That's how I feel.
I've been talking a lot. I'll let other people talk. I'm sorry.
But maybe they did that. They did that on purpose, so that you just have to wait to see what's going to happen.
I don't know.
That was
Mike,
very climatic, the whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know, Mike, Brian, one of you.
No, you said it.
I got
ended
nothing.
on a strange note. I don't know how else to say it.
She had a look on her face like she was disappointed, right?
Mhm.
Like that's what it looked like.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it kind of went back and forth when you freeze framed it.
That's when they that's when they said that. That's when she stopped, and her face falls because she realized he's not there. You know, it would be something if they had the waiting room. And if they had the waiting room, then you would know if. Don't start with me, Brian. I heard
the
you.
code has changed.
oh boy.
Well, I was going to say an article came out a couple of days ago that I just read for the first time today that someone shared on Facebook, and Garrow confirmed they actually filmed more. They actually filmed them showing Ben not showing up and Addison breaking down and the team comforting her, and then they just decided that wasn't needed. And I feel like they've put Caitlin through the ringer. Like, we've already seen her break down, leap, die, repeat, and Ben interrupted. Like, I feel like they've they have milked that, and I'm sure like Caitlin did it perfectly well. They've done that too much already.
Yeah, agreed.
I guess. Yeah, I see it. Yeah, I guess so.
But is
I can't
Quantum
think of
Leap
anything
supposed
else.
to be a romance?
Are you telling me that Sam and Al was not a romance?
That was a
It was a
bromance.
It was a bromance.
It was a bromance, but it was
They
a
were
romance.
friends.
But in each episode, I mean, in almost all the episodes of the original series, Sam is in a romantic situation of some kind. So there was romance. It just wasn't a continuing romance.
Yeah.
With the same
Right.
person. So it's
I
a
wasn't,
different dynamic.
but there's this dynamic between those two people. Okay, we get their porn lovers right now. I mean, you kind of see it through.
I want to ask. I got a little
Why
bit
did they have
excited.
to go there?
I got a little bit excited towards the end of the episode when Addison played the trick on Ben and said, "I'm sorry, who are you?" I
love that.
I got faked out for a second, and I was really excited that that's what they were going to do, because I think that would have been a hell of a cliffhanger to genuinely. Because we've been talking about this a while on our podcast. Like, I think it would be infinitely cooler to not break Ben and Addison up by Addison just deciding to move on in the present, but by history changing so that they never get together, but they still work together.
Yeah,
I think that would be so much more interesting.
That's where I thought this was going. I predicted that. I was like, I thought that's how the season was going to end, and I thought the new dynamic was going to be that now Ben knew, but Addison didn't.
Right.
That's what I thought about the timeline reset. That's where I thought they were going with all of this. So,
But even if they didn't, I think that would have, Dennis, you're right. I think that would have been a better cliffhanger to move into the next episode. And then she goes, just kidding. And then that romance is still there.
Yeah.
That would have been better.
Yeah, that's almost like
dang, why didn't they think of that?
That's almost like Fringe territory. What they did in Fringe. If anybody's seen Fringe, that was a great show.
So good. We should watch the end.
They did it really well. Anything else?
Well, I mean, Ben did have that line about their love being written in the stars, which was very, very poetic. And you know what? It reminded me of Donna and Sam. It felt like that similar thread.
Thought about that too.
No, I'm going back to the thing about fan service and it kind of frustrating me because it seems like a manipulative trick. I just remember when Dean Georgeris joined us for one of our watch parties afterwards, he actually said they dropped so many references to the original series in the final episode, he thought he was thinking about holding a contest on Twitter to see who could like count all of them. And I didn't even catch the written in the stars one. And then when you said it out loud, I'm just like,
We did that. We would have been all over that. We would have won that.
But also, I feel like like Ben made so many like comments throughout the episode, like no, we're going to be fine. It doesn't matter that I'm totally throwing everything out the window. Our love is written in the stars. We're going to be fine. It would have been the perfect twist for him to have been proven wrong.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely.
They should hire you guys.
I do have a question about when Magic was the hologram. How did he sit on the bench beside Ben in that chamber?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
That's a say what moment.
Say what moment? Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah. No, we didn't even talk about how like Jen went back in the imaging chamber again. Like that was like, oh, I got this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mentioned it. They all work together.
Everybody's going in the imaging chamber.
They all work together.
Everyone's an observer now.
Yeah,
Obviously.
yeah.
It's the code.
It's the
We
code.
totally forgot to mention that.
Who hasn't been in the accelerator yet? Let's find out.
Yeah.
It's true.
Janice?
Well, I
Janice, says she?
in her other imaging chamber.
she was in her own do-it-yourself
right.
imaging chamber with the old.
Yeah. That was cute.
Yeah. Okay, if we got nothing else, we're
there
like
was one thing that was very similar to the original Quantum Leap in there as well. It's the part where Ben's standing there and he's like, why can't I make the machine work for me?
Oh, yeah.
Why won't this work?
Mm-hmm.
I should be able to fix this. And here I am. Why won't it work?
Like the leap home.
Mm-hmm.
Like where Sam is saying, why can't
Sam's doing his, I just want to go home. Let me go home. I quit.
Yeah, that was a very Sam moment. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I totally agree. That was pretty good.
I don't know. Did anyone else catch the advertisement? I don't know if it's just for here, but there's an advertisement for Evil Rise here or something. Evil Rises here or something along those lines.
In the,
and
was it in the episode?
It was just an advertisement for this movie.
Oh.
And in the movie itself, you hear this real eerie, "Que sera, sera."
Oh, it was a commercial
and it's
during
really slow, you know. And I was like, Quantum Leap moment and a Quantum Leap moment.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of
Even
cool.
though it wasn't in Quantum Leap commercial.
Because it was the first. It was in the first episode of Quantum Leap that she sang that song.
Yeah.
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 I think you did mention that.
Yeah. No.
You said, "Oh yeah, look at that song. That's from that episode."
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
You did say that.
Yeah.
He noticed it. I didn't notice it.
Did I know? I don't even
You
know.
noticed
I don't
it.
even know what I noticed.
You noticed it. And I said, "Oh yeah. I remember that. Yeah."
Oh, the only other Back to the Future moment was Ben. It's like, "See you in the future." Did you guys get that Back to the Future vibe when he was talking to Addison?
Oh, but
Like,
and it's all in the past. The look that he gives when he says that line too is great. Oh,
yeah.
Don't worry about it. It's all in the past.
Another moment where they could have totally had a Back to the Future moment is like when mortally wounded Martinez falls off the balcony. If he had just fallen into a wagon of manure.
Yes.
Why didn't they think of that?
I knew that's where you were going.
Wasn't good.
And
hate manure.
And on that note, I think we should wrap this up.
Great, Scott.
All right, guys. That was the end of season 1. I don't know what we're going to do. So we got 5 months. I'm ready for this to be done. I'm done with these
Write
reviews.
another story.
Reviews. I'm done with these. I'm done talking about Quantum Leap for now. Like, unless anybody wants me on a guest on a podcast, I'll talk about it Hint, Janice. But other than that, I think I'm not going to do my own videos for a while. Like, hey, invite MJ too. She's virtual seasons. She was like the self-professed queen of Quantum Leap for a long time. So anyway,
That's
thank
only
you
because of
everybody
Brian.
for
Thank you
helping
for
don't
us
blame me.
review Janice. Thank you very much. I do list you in my descriptions, but where can everybody find you? And Sam, if they want to.
Oh, sure. We are Fates Wide Wheel everywhere on the web, fateswidewheel.com, at Fates Wide Wheel on all the major social medias. Our email is fateswidewheelpodcast@gmail.com because somebody has fateswidewheel@gmail.com. I don't know who did it. But
I'm
someone
sure
got it.
people are enjoying that.
Yeah.
Thank you. So thank you.
It's been
Dennis.
a pleasure. Thank you so much,
Amada,
Maria.
for coming back. Yeah. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, MJ. I want to also thank all the people who, in the past, have helping me review this. Matt Dale, Lisa Halafield, and our friend Duncan Flaster. I was originally thinking we'd all come back for this, but that just would have been so overwhelming. But I think this worked out pretty well. So anyway, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button if you're still with us at this point. Until next time, everybody. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.